If you've ever thought about bringing a cat into your life, chances are you've found yourself at a crossroads. Should you adopt or should you buy? It's a decision that seems simple on the surface, but underneath, it carries far more weight than most people realize. Because the choice you make doesn't just affect your life, it changes the life of a cat. Forever. Now imagine this. Somewhere, right now, in a crowded shelter, there's a cat curled up in the corner of a cage. She's quiet, maybe a little scared, maybe a little hopeful. She doesn't know it yet, but she's waiting for someone kind, someone who sees her not as a product, not as a commodity, but as a living, breathing soul deserving of love. That someone could be you. Meanwhile, in another part of town, there's a pet shop filled with kittens in glass enclosures. Bright lights, fancy price tags, and sometimes a sales pitch that makes it all seem like a luxury experience. But what you don't see is the breeding mill behind it. The mother cat's forced to breed over and over again, often kept in poor conditions, treated as machines to produce more and more kittens for profit. It's a side of the industry that's carefully hidden, but it's real. So why are we talking about this? Because choosing to adopt isn't just an act of kindness. It's a conscious stand. A quiet but powerful way to say, I care. I care about animals. I care about doing the right thing. And the beautiful part, you're not sacrificing anything. In fact, you're gaining more than you could imagine. When people think of adopting, they often imagine older cats, sick cats, or cats with issues. But the reality? Shelters are full of incredible animals, playful kittens, loving adults, affectionate seniors, each one with a unique personality and story. Some were abandoned. Some got lost. Some were surrendered by owners who couldn't care for them anymore. But all of them have one thing in common. They're waiting for a second chance. And let's be honest, how amazing is it to be someone's second chance? Adoption isn't about settling. It's about seeing the value in what others might overlook. It's about opening your heart and home, not to the perfect pet, but to the right one. The one who needs you just as much as you need them. Still, we get it. Buying a cat seems easier. You see a breed you like, you pay, you bring it home. Clean and simple. But when you adopt, you're starting a journey. You're becoming part of a story that's bigger than just you and your pet. You're helping reduce overpopulation. You're supporting shelters and rescue organizations doing vital work. And you're making a real difference in the world. One paw at a time. Maybe you're still unsure. Maybe you're thinking, but I really wanted a specific breed, or I want a young kitten to grow up with. And here's the thing, you can still find what you're looking for. Shelters and rescues often have breed-specific cats. They often have litters of kittens. It might take a little more patience, a little more searching, but the reward is so worth it. Because when you adopt, something incredible happens. That cat you saved, she knows. She knows she was chosen. And in return, she loves you in a way that's different, deeper. It's as if she remembers what it felt like to be alone. And now that she has you, she never wants to let go. So in this video, we're going to break it all down. 10 reasons why adopting a cat isn't just a great choice. It's the better one. From saving money to saving lives, from deep emotional bonds to helping fight unethical breeding practices, we're covering it all. Whether you're a first-time cat owner or thinking about adding another furry friend to your home, this is the video you need to see before making that decision. Because adopting a cat isn't just good for the cat. It's good for you, too. Let's dive in. Number 1. You save a life. Every time you walk into a shelter, you're stepping into a place filled with second chances, some hopeful, some heartbreaking. And every time you choose to adopt, you're not just bringing home a pet. You're literally saving a life. Sometimes, more than one. Let's be real. The numbers are staggering. Across the world, millions of cats enter shelters each year. Some are strays, some were surrendered by their owners, and some were rescued from neglectful or dangerous situations. But no matter how they got there, they all have one thing in common. They didn't ask for this. They didn't ask to end up behind a metal door, sleeping on a thin blanket, hoping for a gentle hand to stop and notice them. And here's the harsh truth that not everyone wants to talk about. Not all of them make it out. In overcrowded shelters, space is limited. Resources are stretched thin. If a cat is older or sick, or simply not adopted quickly enough, they may be euthanized. Not because they're unworthy of love, but because there just isn't room. It's a tragic reality, but one that you have the power to change. When you adopt a cat, you become a lifeline. You give that animal a second chance at a full, happy life. And that act, simple as it may seem, is one of the most powerful forms of compassion there is. But the story doesn't stop there. When you adopt, you also free up space in the shelter for another animal in need. Your decision creates a ripple effect. One life saved, followed by another and another. It's impact multiplied. Still not convinced? Let me tell you a story. There was a cat named Oliver. He'd been in the shelter for over 6 months. Black and white, a little shy, and already 6 years old. Day after day, people walked past his cage. They wanted kittens, or purebreds, or cats that came right up to the glass and pawed for attention. But Oliver just watched, quietly, from his corner, waiting. Then one day, a woman came in. She didn't have a specific cat in mind. She just wanted to adopt. She saw Oliver, asked about him, and something just clicked. She took him home that day. She says it was the best decision of her life. Oliver, once withdrawn, blossomed into the most affectionate, loyal companion. He followed her from room to room, purred non-stop, and would curl beside her every night like he'd finally found peace. And maybe he had. Now imagine if she hadn't come. What would have happened to Oliver? This story isn't unique. It happens every day. The quiet cats, the overlooked ones, the seniors, the black cats, yes, they're adopted less often. They all sit and wait for someone like you. Adopting a cat also sends a message. It tells your friends, your family, your social media followers that this is a choice that matters. You become an example, a reminder that animals aren't disposable, that lives are not measured in how expensive they are or whether they have papers, that every cat, whether scruffy or elegant, shy or sassy, deserves love. And let's not forget the emotional reward. There's something different about a cat that knows it was rescued. The bond is deeper. The gratitude is real. It's in the way they look at you, the way they follow you like a shadow, the way they learn to trust again, slowly, beautifully. Saving a life changes the cat, but it changes you too. Many people say, "I didn't rescue my cat rescued me." And there's truth in that. Because when you adopt, you're not just taking in a pet. You're inviting in love, healing, companionship, and purpose. You're building a relationship that's rooted not in status or trend, but in hope. And here's the kicker. Saving a life doesn't mean you're settling. Adopted cats come in all shapes, sizes, personalities, and ages. Want a playful kitten? Shelters have them. Looking for a chill lap cat? Plenty of those too. Want a cat with a quirky personality who talks back? They are out there, just waiting. You're not giving something up by adopting. You're gaining something far greater than any breeder could ever sell you. So when you walk past that pet shop or scroll through ads for purebred kittens, remember, while one cat is being sold for profit, another is waiting for a home that might never come. But it could, because that home could be yours. Adoption isn't just a kind gesture. It's a life-saving decision. One that leaves a mark not just on the cat's life, but on your own heart forever. Number 2, it's much more affordable. Let's face it, getting a cat is a commitment. Not just emotionally, but financially too. And one of the biggest differences between adopting and buying, the cost. Adopting a cat is simply much more affordable, and the savings start from day one. Think about this. When people buy a cat from a breeder or pet store, they're often spending hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars, just to bring the cat home. Depending on the breed, you might pay $800, $1,500, or even over $3,000. That's just the starting point. It doesn't include the basics like shots, microchipping, or spaying and neutering. Those are all extra. And if the breeder hasn't done them already, that's now your responsibility and your bill. Now let's look at adoption. When you adopt from a shelter or rescue, the adoption fee is usually somewhere between $50 and $200. That might sound like a lot at first, but here's what people don't always realize. That fee usually includes everything. Most shelters provide full vaccinations, a spay or neuter surgery, deworming, flea treatment, and even microchipping. In many cases, the cat is already litter-trained and socialized too. So instead of paying for each service separately, you're getting the full package up front for a fraction of the cost. And that can save you hundreds of dollars. Let's say you buy a kitten from a breeder for $12,200. Then you have to schedule a vet visit. First round of vaccinations? That's $100. Follow-ups? Another $100. Spay or neuter? Maybe $300. Microchipping? Around $75. Suddenly, you've added $500 to an already expensive purchase, and you haven't even bought food, a litter box, or toys yet. With adoption, that $100 fee will already cover everything. You walk out the door with a healthy, ready-to-go cat. That's a huge difference, and it doesn't stop there. When you adopt, you also avoid the hidden costs that sometimes come with buying from questionable breeders. Some breeders cut corners, skipping health checks or failing to test for genetic issues. You could end up with a cat that looks healthy at first, but then suddenly needs costly treatment for something preventable. That's a financial and emotional hit no one wants to deal with. Rescues and shelters, on the other hand, are usually very transparent. They'll tell you about any medical or behavioral concerns up front. Many even offer free or discounted vet visits after adoption. They're not trying to sell you a product. They're trying to find a match, for you and for the cat. And here's something else. Your money actually goes towards something meaningful. When you adopt, the adoption fee helps support the shelter. It feeds other animals. It funds rescue efforts. It helps pay for medicine, heating, cleaning, and staff. You're not lining someone's pocket. You're helping save more lives. When you buy, it's usually going into someone's business. And while not all breeders are bad, the unfortunate truth is that many are driven by profit, not by animal welfare. In some cases, it's all about volume. How many kittens can be sold in the shortest time possible? That often means cutting costs, skipping vet visits, and pushing the cats to breed constantly. Adoption, by contrast, is about compassion. It's about giving a homeless animal a second chance, and doing it in a way that doesn't drain your bank account. Now, some people say, "But I really want a specific breed." That's fair, but even then, you'd be surprised. Many shelters and rescues have purebred cats. They might come in as strays or be surrendered by owners who couldn't keep them anymore. There are also breed-specific rescues that focus only on certain types of cats, like Siamese, Ragdoll, or Maine Coon rescues. So yes, even if you have your heart set on a particular look or temperament, adoption is still an option. And if you're flexible, even better. You'll have a wide range of personalities, colors, and ages to choose from, and all without breaking the bank. You can take that money you saved and use it to spoil your cat in ways that actually matter. Buy a tall cat tree. Get the good litter. Try out that fancy puzzle feeder. Set aside an emergency fund, or just save it for future vet visits. Whatever you choose, you'll feel good knowing you made a smart decision, one that benefits both you and your pet. Because here's the thing, your cat doesn't care how much you spent. They don't know if they cost $50 or $1,500. What they care about is feeling safe, fed, and loved. The way you treat them is what builds the bond, not the price tag. So yes, adopting a cat is more affordable. But it's not just about saving money. It's about spending wisely. It's about putting your resources where they really matter. And it's about getting the joy of a cat's love, without the guilt of overspending or supporting questionable practices. In the end, adoption just makes sense, financially, ethically, and emotionally. Number 3. You're helping fight overpopulation. When you adopt a cat instead of buying one, you're not just giving one animal a home. You're taking a stand against one of the biggest issues in the pet world: overpopulation. Right now, there are millions of cats living in shelters, foster homes, or even on the streets. And the heartbreaking truth is this: there are simply more cats than there are homes. Every single day, shelters take in more cats than they can place. And as much as these organizations try to care for them all, they're constantly overwhelmed. Imagine this: a small shelter in your city gets 10 new cats in a week, but they only have space for 5. What happens to the other 5? Some might be turned away. Some might be placed in temporary foster homes, and some, if the shelter is underfunded or overcrowded, may be euthanized, not because they're sick, not because they're aggressive, just because there's no room left. That's what overpopulation looks like. Too many animals, not enough homes. So where are all these cats coming from? A big part of the problem is uncontrolled breeding. Backyard breeders, irresponsible pet owners who don't spay or neuter their cats, and people who think just one litter won't hurt. They all contribute to the cycle. A single unspayed female cat can produce up to 3 litters a year, with 4 to 6 kittens per litter. Do the math. In just a few years, one cat and her offspring can lead to hundreds of kittens. That's how fast the numbers grow. Buying cats from breeders, pet stores, or online listings, even if it's just one, keeps that cycle going. Every time someone buys a kitten instead of adopting, it sends a message: there's demand. And wherever there's demand, breeders will keep supplying. The result? More litters, more kittens, and more cats competing for too few homes. Now, Let's flip that around. When you adopt, you're doing the opposite. You're reducing demand for breeding and making space in the shelter for the next animal who needs help. You're taking one cat off the waiting list and into a loving home. And because most adopted cats are already spayed or neutered, you're helping stop the cycle of reproduction too. It's a small choice with massive impact. You might be thinking, but I'm just one person. I'm only adopting one cat. And sure, on the surface, it might feel that way. But zoom out. Every person who adopts instead of buys helps shift the balance. The more people who choose adoption, the fewer kittens breeders can sell. Over time, demand decreases, production slows, and fewer cats are born into a world that can't take care of them. That's how real change starts. And it's not just about preventing future suffering. It's about honoring the cats that are already here, already waiting, already desperate for a second chance. These cats didn't ask to be born. They didn't ask to be abandoned or left behind. But here they are. And every adoption tells them, you matter. You're not invisible. Shelters do their best to manage the crisis. They run spay and neuter programs, educate communities, and work around the clock to find homes for the cats they take in. But they can't do it alone. They need people like you, to step in and say, I choose adoption. I choose to help. And the good news? Adoption isn't just the right thing to do. It's also a beautiful experience. These aren't broken cats. They're not damaged goods. They're animals with stories, personalities, and endless love to give. Some are playful. Some are quiet. Some are goofy or chatty or endlessly curious. Each one is different, but all of them are worth loving. By adopting, you're becoming part of the solution. You're not adding to the problem. You're giving a cat a new start, and you're helping shelters focus their limited resources on saving more lives, instead of constantly reacting to an endless flow of unwanted litters. Let's be honest. There's something powerful about knowing you didn't just bring home a pet. You made a real difference. You helped reduce suffering. You helped create space. You helped change a system that desperately needs changing. And here's something else people forget. Adoption sends a message. When you tell others you adopted your cat, you're spreading awareness. You're making it normal. You're showing that adoption isn't just a backup plan. It's the best plan. That influence matters. Your choice might inspire someone else to visit a shelter instead of a breeder. That person might inspire another. And suddenly, it's not just one life saved. It's dozens, maybe more. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed by the state of animal welfare and thought, I wish I could do something to help, you can. Adopting is helping. It's one of the most direct, meaningful ways to fight back against overpopulation. Number 4. Shelter cats come ready. When you adopt a cat from a shelter or rescue, you're not just bringing home a pet. You're bringing home a cat that's already had a head start. And that's something people don't talk about enough. Because one of the biggest advantages of adoption is this: shelter cats come ready. What does that mean exactly? Well, when you buy a kitten from a breeder or pet shop, you're often starting from zero. You get a tiny ball of fur, sure, but now the real work begins. You'll need to book vet appointments, get vaccinations, arrange for spaying or neutering, deal with microchipping, deworming, flea treatments. The list goes on. You're also rolling the dice when it comes to behavior. Is this kitten socialized, litter-trained, used to human contact? You might not know for weeks. But with shelter cats, most of that is already done. In fact, it's often part of the adoption process. Let's start with the basics. The vast majority of shelters spay or neuter every cat before they're adopted out. That alone saves you time, stress, and money. It also means you're not contributing to the overpopulation problem we just talked about. Vaccinations? Done. Deworming? Checked. Microchipping? Most likely already handled. Many shelters even send their cats home with a clean bill of health from a licensed vet. And there's more. Shelter staff spend time with these animals. They observe their personalities. They notice how each cat interacts with people, with other cats, even with dogs if the shelter has them. That means when you go in and describe what you're looking for, maybe a quiet lap cat or a playful young buddy for your kids, the staff can match you with cats that actually fit your lifestyle. They know their cats. They know who loves cuddles, who's more independent, who might need a little patience, and who's ready to follow you home that very day. You don't get that kind of insight when buying from someone who just wants to make a sale. And it doesn't stop at health and behavior. Many shelter cats are already litter trained. That's a huge plus, especially for first-time cat owners. You won't be dealing with messy accidents or trying to teach a kitten from scratch. These cats have already learned the basics of living in a home environment. Some have even lived in homes before. Not every shelter cat was born on the street. Many were surrendered by former owners due to life changes, moving, allergies, financial hardship, or the arrival of a new baby. These cats are used to people. They understand routines. They know what it means to sleep on a couch, to curl up in bed, to come when called. Well, if they feel like it, of course. They're still cats. And let's talk about kittens for a second. People often think you can only get kittens from breeders. Not true. Shelters are full of kittens, especially during kitten season. That's spring and summer when unspayed cats are giving birth everywhere. These kittens come in by the dozens, and shelters work fast to provide them with vet care, foster homes, and basic training. By the time you adopt one, they're usually well on their way to becoming confident, healthy little companions. But here's where it gets even better. When you adopt from a rescue, they often go above and beyond. Some give you a starter kit, food, a blanket, a toy that smells like their foster home. Some offer free follow-up vet visits. Others will check in with you after a week or two, just to make sure everything's going well. That kind of support? You won't get that from a breeder. You won't get that from a Craigslist ad. But you will get it from people who genuinely care about the cats they place. And let's not forget, you get to skip the uncertainty. When you adopt an adult cat, what you see is what you get. You already know how big they are. You know their coat, their temperament, their quirks. They're fully developed. You're not guessing what kind of personality might emerge like you do with a kitten. You're making a choice based on the real cat in front of you. Even with younger cats and kittens, shelter staff can give you more information than you'd expect. Was this kitten shy at first but now loves to explore? Great. Is this one super attached to people and cries when left alone? Good to know. You're not flying blind, and that means fewer surprises and a smoother transition into your home. And that transition really matters. Because let's be honest, bringing a cat home can be stressful. New smells, new sounds, a new environment. But when your cat has already been handled, socialized, and medically prepared, the whole process becomes easier for both of you. They adjust faster. You bond sooner. The relationship begins on solid ground. There's something comforting about knowing your new cat has already been cared for. That someone vaccinated them. That someone watched over them. That someone made sure they were healthy and safe before placing them in your hands. Number 5. You're not supporting unethical breeders. Let's talk about something uncomfortable, but necessary. Because when you buy a cat, especially online or from a pet store, you might be supporting something you don't even realize: unethical breeding practices. And the truth is, behind the cute photos and polished websites, there's often a much darker story. We all love kittens. They're adorable. They're playful, fluffy, full of energy. But what you don't see when you're scrolling through breeder listings is where many of those kittens actually come from. Some breeders are responsible and take great care of their animals, but far too many are only in it for the profit. These are the breeders who cut corners, the ones who keep cats in cages, breed them over and over again with no rest, and treat them like machines, not living beings. There are no warm homes, no soft beds, no toys, just wire crates, poor hygiene, and a cycle of pregnancy after pregnancy. It's called a kitten mill. And yes, it's real. These operations exist all over the world, hidden away in basements, garages, and rural warehouses. The cats are often sick. The mother cats are exhausted. Kittens are taken too young from their moms, under-socialized, and sometimes sold with underlying health problems that don't show up until weeks later, long after you've brought them home and paid the money. And why does this continue? Because people keep buying. Every time someone pays for a kitten from an irresponsible breeder, they're unknowingly funding the system. They're creating demand for more litters, more suffering, more exploitation. It's a cycle, and it only ends when we stop feeding it. Now, let's be fair. Not all breeders are bad. There are ethical breeders out there who prioritize health, genetics, and proper care. They do medical testing. They limit how often their cats reproduce. They raise kittens in clean homes with human interaction and socialization. But these breeders are rare, and they almost never sell their animals in pet stores or through quick online listings. They usually have waiting lists. They interview you. They care about where their cats go. They don't just take your money and disappear. So if you're not doing serious research, and most people aren't, you run a high risk of supporting someone unethical, even if you didn't mean to. When you adopt, you avoid all of that. You're not giving your money to someone who's profiting off the suffering of animals. You're not fueling a system that values quantity over welfare. You're choosing a path that respects animals, their dignity, and their right to be treated with compassion. And here's the really hard part. It's not just bad for the cats, it's often bad for you, too. Kittens from unethical breeders frequently come with hidden health problems: respiratory infections, parasites, digestive issues, even genetic conditions caused by inbreeding. You might think you're getting a healthy kitten, only to find yourself at the vet every week, spending hundreds or thousands of dollars to fix what could have been avoided. And that's not even mentioning the heartbreak. People have shared stories of bringing home a kitten that seemed fine, only to watch it decline rapidly due to underlying illness. Some survive, some don't. And for the families who go through that, the emotional toll is devastating. It's not just about money. It's about watching something innocent suffer because someone else wanted to cut costs and rush a sale. When you adopt from a shelter or rescue, the story is completely different. You're dealing with people who are transparent, people who care, people who want the best for the animal, not just a quick payout. Most shelter cats come with a full medical history, or at least a recent exam. If there are any known issues, they'll tell you. If the cat needs medication, they'll explain it. If they're recovering from surgery, they'll walk you through the care. No secrets, no surprises, no shady back rooms, And the best part? You walk away knowing your money didn't support cruelty. It supported kindness. It helped feed the next cat. It helped fund medical treatment for the next rescue. It helped keep a shelter open another week. Your adoption fee isn't a transaction. It's a contribution, one that helps fix a broken system. So when you adopt, you're not just saving one life. You're refusing to be part of an industry that profits from pain. That's powerful. That's meaningful. That's a decision you can feel good about every time your cat curls up on your lap. There's something else, too. When you choose adoption, you're also making a statement. You're saying, I don't need a cat with a pedigree. I just need a cat to love. That humility, that compassion sends a message to your friends, your family, your community. It normalizes adoption. It sets an example. And maybe, just maybe, the next time someone you know wants a cat, they'll follow your lead. Number 6. Adopting offers more personality choice. When most people think about getting a cat, they focus on the way it looks. The fur color, the eye shape, the breed. But anyone who's lived with a cat knows that's not what matters in the long run. What really matters is personality. And that's exactly where adoption shines. Because when you walk into a shelter or browse a rescue website, you're not just looking at cats, you're meeting individuals. Each one has a story, a style, a unique little soul. And the beauty of adoption is this: you get to choose a cat whose personality matches yours. Let's say you want a mellow, low-maintenance cat who'll lounge on the windowsill and nap in the sun. Or maybe you want the opposite, a high-energy, curious troublemaker who's always climbing, chasing, and exploring. You might be looking for a cat that's great with kids, or one who gets along with dogs, or maybe a cuddler who insists on sleeping next to you every night. Guess what? You can find all of that and more at a shelter. Why? Because shelter staff and foster families actually get to know these cats. They spend time with them. They see how they act around people, around other animals, and in different situations. They learn who's shy, who's bold, who's independent, and who wants to be held 24/7. And they'll tell you. That means you're not guessing. When you adopt, you can say, I work long hours. I need a cat that's okay being alone during the day. Or, I want a cat that plays fetch with my kid. And they'll point you toward cats who match that vibe. That kind of matchmaking just isn't possible when you're buying a kitten from a breeder. Because here's the thing, kittens are wild cards. Sure, they're cute, but they're still growing, still developing their personalities. That tiny kitten you bring home today might grow up into a bold explorer or a skittish hider. You just don't know. Genetics can't predict it. Breed can't guarantee it. Personality is shaped by experience, environment, and individual temperament. But when you adopt an adult, or even a young cat who's already been socialized, you see who they are right now. You see how they greet people, whether they like to be held. If they're vocal, quiet, goofy, clingy, aloof, you can observe it all before you make a decision. And that's a big deal. Because when you find a cat whose personality fits your lifestyle, you're setting yourself up for success. You're building a bond that's based on real compatibility, not just guesswork or assumptions. You're giving yourself the best chance for a long, happy relationship with fewer surprises. And if you think shelters only have problem cats, think again. Shelters have every type of personality you can imagine. Sweet seniors who just want a warm lap. Kittens who pounce on everything. Confident cats who'll greet your guests at the door. Independent types who like their space. Quiet companions for quiet people. Chatty cats for chatty people. There's no one-size-fits-all, and that's the beauty of it. Even within the same litter or the same age group, personalities can vary wildly. One 6-month-old might be calm and cuddly. Another might be a full-blown chaos agent. Adoption gives you the power to choose, not just based on age or color, but on connection. And if you're not sure what kind of cat would suit you best, shelter staff are usually happy to guide you. They've seen the cats in action. They know who's been around kids, who loves toys, who's okay with dogs, who needs a quiet home. It's not just adoption. It's matchmaking. And let's not forget about bonding. People often say adopted cats form stronger emotional connections. It's not a myth. Cats that have been through something, whether they were surrendered, abandoned, or rescued from a rough situation, tend to remember. They often show a unique kind of appreciation. It's in their eyes, their purring, the way they stick close to you. That bond grows even stronger when you choose them intentionally. When you meet several cats, take your time and finally say, this one feels right. That choice is powerful for both of you. And no, it doesn't mean you're limited. Shelters don't just have mixed breeds or cats that all look the same. You'll find long-haired and short-haired cats, solid colors, stripes, calicos, tuxedos. You'll find cats that act like dogs, following you room to room, and others who are more reserved and watch from a distance. Whatever you're drawn to, there's probably a cat with that personality already waiting. And here's something a lot of people don't realize. Shelter cats are constantly changing. New cats arrive all the time. You might not find your perfect match on your first visit, but maybe next week? Or maybe the foster family down the road has someone just right. When you adopt, you're not locked into a single breeder's options. You're choosing from a constantly refreshing pool of possibilities. Number 7. Adopted cats often bond more deeply. There's something special about an adopted cat. Something that's hard to describe unless you've experienced it for yourself. It's not just the purring or the slow blinks or the way they curl beside you on the couch. It's deeper than that. Adopted cats bond in a way that feels different, more personal, more emotional, more human. Maybe it's because they remember what it felt like to be left behind. Maybe it's because, before they met you, life wasn't so gentle. Think about what many shelter cats have gone through. Some were abandoned by previous owners. Some were rescued from the streets. Some spent months, even years, living in small cages, surrounded by the sounds and smells of other scared animals. They've known loneliness. They've known uncertainty. And they've learned how to survive without anyone at all. Then one day, everything changes. A stranger walks in. Maybe you didn't even plan to adopt that day. Maybe you were just looking. But as you pass the kennels, one pair of eyes holds your gaze just a second longer. They don't meow. They don't paw at the door. They just watch. Quiet, cautious, but curious. And in that moment, something clicks. You don't choose a cat like that randomly, and they don't forget it. Because for an adopted cat, you are the turning point. You're the first warm hand after weeks of stainless steel and barking dogs. You're the first quiet room after endless shelter noise. You're the first gentle voice that means something real. They remember the moment their world shifted, and because of that, their bond with you often runs deeper than words can explain. And this isn't just a feeling. Many adopters say the same thing. It's like she knows, I saved her. He follows me everywhere. She never lets me out of her sight. There's a reason these stories sound familiar. They're true. It's not about loyalty in the way dogs show it. Cats are different. But adopted cats often show a kind of devotion that's quiet and powerful. They sit near you when you're sad. They greet you at the door like you've been gone for years. They sleep curled around your feet like a living anchor. They give you their trust slowly, but once they do, it's yours completely. There's a vulnerability in an adopted cat that makes the relationship feel meaningful. You see it in the way they hesitate at first, then lean in. The way they keep one eye on you, then relax completely. That process, the slow build of trust, is part of what makes the bond so strong. You earn it, together. And once you've earned it, it becomes a foundation for everything that follows. You learn their patterns, their moods, their little rituals. You know when they want attention and when they just want to sit in the same room. You notice when something feels off because you're in tune with them. They learn your voice, your routine, your scent. They know the sound of your car, the time you wake up, the spot on the bed where they're always allowed. It's a relationship, and it's real. With adopted cats, this relationship often feels more mutual. There's a sense that they chose you too, not because they had to, but because you showed up and stayed. Now, of course, not every adopted cat bonds instantly. Some take days, others take weeks or even months. Trauma, neglect, or constant change can make it hard for them to open up. But when they do, it's unforgettable. A cat that was once afraid to be touched now sleeps on your chest. One that flinched at every noise now follows you from room to room. One that wouldn't eat in front of people now waits by your feet every morning for breakfast. That transformation, it's not just about the cat. It's about what you've built together. It's trust, and it's deep. And honestly, the bond is stronger because it took time. There's something powerful about helping a cat heal, about showing them the world is safe again, about being the person who didn't give up on them. That feeling that you made a real difference in a living creature's life is something no amount of money can buy. It's why so many adopters say, "She rescued me just as much as I rescued her." Because adopted cats don't just become pets. They become companions, shadows, comforts, quiet little reminders that love doesn't always come easy. But when it's real, it stays. And no, it's not always perfect. There might be accidents. There might be scratching. There might be nights where they hide under the bed, unsure of you. But if you're patient, if you give them time, they'll come around. Not all at once, but piece by piece, like a puzzle that finally fits. And when that happens, when that scared, shy little cat finally curls up on your lap and lets out a deep, contented sigh, you'll know. You'll feel it. This cat, this soul, chose you back. Number 8. You're setting a positive example. Sometimes doing the right thing isn't just about what you get out of it. It's about what you show others, about the silent messages you send by the choices you make. When you adopt a cat instead of buying one, you're not just helping that cat. You're setting a powerful example for everyone around you. Whether you realize it or not, people notice what you do. Friends, family, neighbors, co-workers, they see your new cat. They ask where you got them. They hear the story. And suddenly, adoption becomes something real to them. Not just a concept, but a lived experience. A friend of a friend who rescued a senior cat. A co-worker who found their best companion at a shelter. These stories stick. They shape how people think. When you adopt, You show that compassion is cool, that choosing kindness over convenience is something to be proud of. And people remember that. Think about it. Most of us grow up seeing purebred animals in movies, commercials, or magazines. We're taught, without words, that the best pets come with papers. That fancy means better, that adoption is second best. But every time someone chooses to adopt and speaks openly about it, that myth starts to crack. You're part of that shift. By proudly saying, "I adopted my cat," you're rewriting the script. You're telling the world that rescue animals aren't broken or lesser. They're incredible, loving, worthy, and just as amazing as any designer breed. And this example? It spreads more than you think. Maybe your little sister always thought she wanted a Bengal, but then she meets your adopted tabby, who follows you around like a shadow and greets her at the door. Suddenly, her idea of a perfect cat changes. Or maybe your neighbor's kids come over to play and fall in love with your adopted kitten. Now, when their family thinks about getting a pet, they remember your story first. You never know who's watching. You might inspire one person, or 10, or 100. And each person you influence is one more step toward a world where adoption is the norm, not the exception. And this goes beyond people you know. Today, we share everything. Photos on Instagram, stories on Facebook, videos on TikTok. When you post a picture of your adopted cat, curled up in your lap, chasing a toy, sleeping with their paws in the air, you're doing more than just showing off your pet. You're spreading the message. Look at this amazing animal. They came from a shelter, and now they're family. That kind of message is powerful, because people trust real experiences. They trust someone they know more than they trust a commercial. Your one post, your one story, might be the gentle push someone else needs to visit their local shelter instead of browsing breeder websites. That one decision, it could save a life. And here's something even deeper, something we don't talk about enough. Adoption teaches kids empathy. When children see adults making compassionate choices, they learn that kindness matters. They learn that animals aren't objects to be bought and sold. They're living beings with feelings. Adopting a cat isn't just bringing home a pet. It's showing your child how to be responsible, how to care, how to love someone who needed help. That lesson stays with them for life. It shapes how they treat others, animals, and people. It creates a ripple effect that extends far beyond your home. And sometimes, your example reaches places you never expected. Maybe your vet hears your adoption story and shares it with another client. Maybe your coworker tells their elderly parent about your gentle senior cat and encourages them to adopt a companion. Maybe someone online, scrolling through hundreds of posts, pauses on your photo and sees something different, something honest, something hopeful, all because you made one choice. And let's not forget, adoption is the kind of story people love to hear. Not because it's flashy, but because it's real. There's something beautiful about giving a second chance, about saying, "This cat was alone and now she's home." People connect with that. It reminds them of what matters. It inspires them to do better. And in a world that often feels chaotic, selfish, and rushed, that kind of quiet, personal goodness stands out. You're not just getting a pet. You're modeling a mindset, one that values care over status, action over talk, heart over hype. And the best part? You don't have to lecture anyone. You don't have to post statistics or write long essays. You just have to live your life with your adopted cat by your side. Let the love between you speak for itself. It's louder than you think. Every time someone sees your bond, They see what adoption really means. Not charity, not pity, but partnership, joy, growth, healing. And yes, you're only one person. But change always starts with one. One choice, one story, one example that someone else follows. Number 9. Adult cats are often easier. Kittens get all the attention, and it's easy to see why. They're tiny, adorable, and full of chaotic energy. But if you're looking for a smoother, more relaxed experience, there's something you should know. Adult cats are often much easier. They're the underrated stars of the shelter. The ones quietly waiting while everyone rushes toward the baby-faced fluff balls in the corner. But here's the thing. Adult cats come with a lot of advantages. And for many people, they're actually the better fit. First off, let's talk about energy. Kittens are wild. That's zooming around at 3 a.m., knocking things off shelves, attacking your feet under the blanket, kind of wild. They need constant stimulation, constant play, constant supervision. It's fun, sure, but it's also exhausting, especially if you have a job, a family, or let's be honest, a need for sleep. Adult cats? They've already passed that chaos phase. They still play, of course, but on their terms. A few bursts of energy, a string toy here and there, maybe a little chase before dinner. And then, nap time. Long, glorious nap time. And that means less destruction, less worry, less wondering if your new pet is somewhere chewing on your charging cable or climbing your curtains. Adult cats have matured past the tornado stage. They've settled into who they are. And that makes your life a lot easier from day one. Next, litter training. With kittens, accidents happen. It's part of the process. They're still figuring it out. But adult cats? Most of them are already litter box pros. They've been using one for years. They know where to go, how to cover, and how to be clean. No training required. You just show them the box, and that's it. It sounds like a small thing, but if you've ever had to clean kitten messes off the carpet, you know it's a big deal. Then there's personality. With adult cats, what you see is what you get. They're fully developed, emotionally and behaviorally. You already know if they're affectionate or independent, quiet or talkative, social or shy. You're not guessing what kind of cat they'll grow into. You're meeting them exactly as they are. And that makes for better matches. If you want a lap cat, you can find one. If you want a chill observer who just likes being nearby, they exist. Adult cats come in all personality types, and when you adopt, the shelter staff can help you find the one who truly fits your lifestyle. Compare that to kittens, who are still developing their temperament. The cuddly kitten you pick might turn into a fiercely independent adult, or vice versa. It's unpredictable. But with adults, there are fewer surprises. Another big plus? No teething. Kittens bite. A lot. Play, biting, chewing, teething. It's part of their development. But it can be a pain for new owners. Scratched hands, chewed cords, shredded shoelaces. Adult cats are usually long past that. They know the rules. They understand boundaries. They've grown out of those baby habits that, while cute at first, get old fast. And let's not ignore the emotional side. Adult cats are often more grateful. Many of them have been through hard times, abandonment, loss, time in the shelter. They remember what it was like to be overlooked, to wait and wait for someone to choose them. And when you finally do, they know, and they bond deeply because of it. There's something incredibly heartwarming about earning the trust of an older cat, watching them relax, watching their walls come down. It doesn't always happen right away, but when it does, it's one of the most rewarding parts of adoption. And if you're worried that adult cats won't live as long as a kitten, don't be. Cats can live well into their teens and even 20s with proper care. Adopting a 5- or 6-year-old cat still gives you a decade or more of companionship. That's a long, beautiful time together. And for seniors, yes, even senior cats, there's magic in those years too. They're calm, cuddly, often the most affectionate of all. They're not climbing your shelves or running around like lunatics. They just want a quiet place to call home and a warm person to curl up next to. And guess what? They're usually the last ones to get adopted. Shelters are full of adult and senior cats that get passed over every day because they aren't young enough. And yet, they're the easiest, most peaceful companions you could ask for. They don't demand much. They just want to love and be loved. And if you give them that chance, you'll never regret it. Another thing, adult cats are usually cheaper to care for. They're already vaccinated, already fixed, already house-trained. You don't need to kitten-proof your entire house. You don't need to buy endless toys to wear them out. They're simple in the best way, and your home becomes calmer because of it. So while everyone else is chasing the kitten dream, you could be discovering the quiet joy of a cat who already knows how to live with people, how to chill, how to love. Number 10. You still can get a kitten. Let's bust a myth right here, right now. A lot of people think that if you adopt a cat, you're only getting the leftovers, the older ones, the shy ones, the cats nobody else wanted. And sure, shelters do have adult and senior cats waiting for homes, but that doesn't mean kittens are off the table. Because guess what? You absolutely can adopt a kitten. In fact, shelters and rescues are overflowing with kittens, especially during what's called kitten season. What's that? It's the time of year, usually spring and summer, when unspayed female cats give birth in massive numbers. Litters show up every day. Boxes of kittens are found outside buildings, in alleyways, under porches. Some are brought in by Good Samaritans. Others are rescued from the street. And shelters? They work around the clock to take them in, feed them, treat them, and prepare them for adoption. So if you've got your heart set on a tiny fluff ball, playful, curious, just learning to explore the world, you can absolutely find one through adoption. The difference? When you adopt a kitten, you're not fueling breeding. You're not supporting a system that treats animals like merchandise. You're giving a real kitten, one born into tough circumstances, a shot at a real life. And that's powerful. These aren't second-rate kittens. These are just as adorable, just as playful, just as perfect as the ones with the price tags in the pet store window. The only difference is their background and the fact that they really, truly need you. Let's say you walk into a shelter during kitten season. What will you see? Litters of tiny fur balls curled up together, wide-eyed babies chasing toys, sleepy ones snuggled under blankets. And best of all, most of them are in foster homes, being raised by loving volunteers who bottle-fed them, socialized them, and kept them safe until they were ready for adoption. By the time they meet you, they've already been handled by humans, taught to use a litter box, maybe even lived in a home with other animals. That's a huge advantage over buying from a breeder where socialization might not be a priority. And shelters aren't just trying to move kittens quickly. They want good matches. They'll talk with you, learn about your lifestyle, your home, your expectations, and then they'll help you find the right fit. Whether you want a calm kitten, a super playful one, or a pair of bonded siblings, they'll help you figure it out. Because yes, Bonded pairs are common. Sometimes two kittens grow up together and form a tight connection. Adopting both can be amazing. They play together, learn together, and burn off energy with each other so you don't become their full-time toy. It's double the fun, and often double the love. Another myth? That shelter kittens are damaged or unhealthy. Not true. Before a kitten is put up for adoption, they go through thorough vet checks. They're vaccinated, dewormed, and often spayed or neutered depending on their age. Many shelters even wait to list kittens until they're strong, healthy, and social enough for adoption. They want the transition to your home to be as smooth as possible. And remember, when you adopt a kitten, your money isn't going into someone's bank account. It's going back into the system. It helps the shelter care for more kittens. It pays for formula, heat lamps, foster supplies, and vet bills. Every dollar you spend is reinvested in saving lives. But here's the part that really hits home. When you adopt a kitten, you get to shape a life from the very beginning. You're there for the first time they explore the windowsill. Their first real toy. Their first time figuring out your weird human routines. You watch them grow, learn, and become the cat they were always meant to be. And that bond? It's strong. Kittens learn fast. They attach fast. They follow you around like little shadows, learn your routines, nap on your keyboard while you work. They become part of your world almost instantly, and you become their entire world. And while yes, they can be a little wild, a little mischievous, a little too fascinated by cords and toes and countertops, all of that is part of the experience. And when you adopt, you get the fun without the guilt. Because you're not just getting a kitten, you're rescuing one. You're saying, hey, little one, you didn't get the easiest start. But from now on, you're safe. You're loved. And this is your home. That's a beautiful thing. And you're showing everyone around you, friends, family, followers, that adoption doesn't mean compromise, that you don't have to buy joy, that compassion and cuteness go hand in hand. You're breaking stereotypes just by sharing photos of your wide-eyed, fuzzy little adopted sidekick. And yes, you still get all the kitten magic. The zoomies, the clumsy leaps, the softest fur, the ridiculous nap poses, the purring under your chin, the "is this a toy or my hand" moments. It's all there. So now you've heard it all. 10 powerful, heartfelt reasons why adopting a cat is better than buying, and why that one choice can mean so much more than you ever imagined. Adoption isn't just a way to get a pet. It's a decision to change a life. A decision that says, I see your worth, I see your need, and I choose you. When you adopt, you're not only giving a cat a second chance, you're giving them a first real home. You're stepping into their story and rewriting the ending. One with warmth, comfort, playtime, and love. You're making space for healing, for trust, and for connection. That's not a transaction. It's a transformation. You're saving lives. You're helping shelters make room for the next animal in need. You're refusing to support cruel or careless breeding practices. And you're proving to yourself, to your community, to anyone who's watching, that compassion is a choice worth making. And the best part? You don't have to sacrifice anything. Want a kitten? You can adopt one. Want a playful or calm personality? You'll find it. Want a beautiful, unique cat with a story as special as yours? They're waiting. You get the cat you've dreamed of, and they get the life they've been waiting for. There's a kind of bond that forms when you rescue an animal. A quiet understanding, a deep loyalty, a soft, grateful love that builds over time. And it's not just the cat who feels it. You do too. Because in giving them a new start, you discover something in yourself, the joy of making a difference. And that joy, it stays with you. Every time they curl up beside you, every time they greet you at the door, every time you catch them watching you with those calm, content eyes, you'll know this was the right choice. So if you're thinking about getting a cat, don't rush to the pet store. Don't scroll through breeder ads. Visit your local shelter. Talk to a rescue group. Go meet the cats who are already here, already amazing, already deserving. Look into their eyes. One of them might just be waiting for you. Because adoption doesn't just change their life, it just might change yours too.